Hello, happy Saturday. It's currently raining. I just spent the afternoon at the library. It's a very cute library, very mid-century modern. It's such a vibe. I came to the library today because, well, one, it's raining, but I wanted to set up my 2026 finance spreadsheet, which is always fun for me, personally. I also was going to try to get some goal setting, goal planning, journaling in, but my spreadsheet actually took a couple hours to set up. Usually my spreadsheet's pretty simple year after year, but now that I have to track joint expenses, I wanted to track some other things and just get everything organized and set up nicely so that tracking and budgeting and all that stuff is more automated throughout the year. But I think I made really good progress. I'm really happy with what I got done. I tried to show my outfit earlier, but I didn't have my mic on me. But I'm basically wearing this sweater. You definitely can't see it. But this is the sweater I knit 2 years ago. It's the chestnut sweater from Petite Knit. It is very cozy, and I really only get to wear this maybe 1 or 2 months of the year, but it's very nice. It was a fun Saturday. Maybe I'll be able to show my full outfit when I get home. So voiceover time, I'm wearing my Petite Knit chestnut sweater, which I knit a few years back, but as I mentioned in my last video, it is a little bit shorter than I'd like, but definitely still wearable. I'm also putting on my Uniqlo blocktech trench coat, which I was hunting for a very long time, and I actually found this on Facebook Marketplace. So now I'm glad I can finally wear seasonally appropriate clothes in this rainy weather. Hello, it is a little bit later now, and now that I'm back from the library, I wanted to talk about my 2026 reading goals. So, in previous years, I would count how many books I read in a year. I would start the year with a goal number that I wanted to hit, and most years I have hit that goal. Last year, I set a goal to read 20 books, and I actually hit 22 books. So, what an achievement. Good for me. So, I had set those number goals mostly to really get into the habit of reading and really motivate myself to keep reading year after year. Now, in 2026, reading is more part of my lifestyle now. So, counting how many books and setting that big number goal just doesn't feel important to me this year, and I want to focus on something else. Instead of focusing on a number of books that I want to hit, I actually want to challenge myself more to read books that have been a little more daunting when I'm trying to hit a certain number of books in a year. So books that may be a little more challenging for me and may take a longer time to read, or just topics or authors that I just haven't gotten to yet. So I have a list of 5 goals, or are they goals? More like challenges that I want to read in 2026, and I'm reading off my little journal here, so that's why I'm looking down. So the first goal I have is to read a book by one of the Bronte sisters, and I actually started Jane Eyre 2 days ago or a day ago. So Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I'm really enjoying it so far. I also typically read from an e-reader. So I usually borrow an ebook from the library and load it up to my Kobo. So this is the first time in a very long time where I'm reading a physical book. And I'm still getting used to it. I don't know if I like it, but I do feel like it makes me slow down a little bit more when I'm reading and really just make reading more of a ritual where I sit down by the light and enjoy my book. Next on my reading challenges is to read a book by a Filipino author or a story about the Filipino experience or Filipino American experience. So I have two books here that have been on my list. One is The Latinos of Asia by Anthony Christian Ocampo, and this is nonfiction, like a nonfiction sociology book. Next, I also have In the Country, which is a book of, I think, 10 or 12 short stories. And I tried to start this the other month, but it was a little heavy for me, at least the first one that I was reading. And I don't know if I'm really in the mood for short stories, so we'll see if I pick this up maybe later in the year. I also was reading the synopsis of a book called When the Elephants Dance, and that might also be put on the list. So of those three, we'll see which one I like, or if I read multiple, that'd be great too. Next is Russian literature, or a book about a historical Russian figure. So Russian literature just seems like one of those things I should try, but in previous years when I had that count that I was trying to hit, Russian novels just seemed a little too dense and definitely too long for me to be able to achieve my reading goals at the same time. But now that I'm not counting how many books I read, maybe this is the year to try one out. So I've had Anna Karenina by Tolstoy on my list for a while, so that's an option. I'm a little curious about reading a biography. So I saw that there was one about Catherine the Great, I think by the author Massie is what I wrote down. So that is another option for that goal. My fourth goal is similar to the last two in that I want to read an author of a specific identity or that has a story about a specific experience I want to learn more about. So the fourth one is reading a book by a Native American author or about the Native American experience. So I have There by Tommy Orange on my list. And then my last goal is to read a Toni Morrison book. I have always had a Toni Morrison book on my TBR list and I just never got to it, but maybe this is the year. So I have Sula written down as a book to try, but I actually haven't really looked into which one would be a good one to start or if there might be another one that might be more interesting to me. But definitely Toni Morrison is on my list. So those are the 5 goals or challenges that I want to hit this year. And I think it seems doable, and I'm just excited to maybe read something a little bit different and change how I approach picking the books that I want to read this year. So another goal of mine, or not goal, but more of a habit that I want to continue for my reading this year is to take notes in my reading journal. So this is something I actually started in the second half of last year, just as a way to remember what I was reading because I would often just forget, and just as a way to engage a little more critically in what I was reading, even if it was a book like, I don't know, Onyx Storm. Also, it's just kind of fun to doodle and jot things down in a notebook. So I'll show you some of the reading notes I took last year. So on the right side of the page were my notes for Small Things Like These by Claire Keegan. And then on the left side were my notes for Perfection by Vincenzo Latronica. My notes for Trust by Hernan Diaz were quite lengthy. So you can see, I don't know if you can see my spread there. But yeah, taking notes while I'm reading is pretty fun. And the notes I'm taking are not intellectual or academic per se, but I usually start with something simple like, I like this book so far. Why do I like it? What do I like about it? The same thing goes for if I don't like the book. Is it because I don't like the characters? Is it because I don't like the author's writing style or the format of the book? So mostly simple questions just to get my brain working a little bit while I'm reading and just be a bit more of an active reader, you could say. And then lastly, for 2026, I am coming off of Goodreads. So in the past, I had actually been tracking my books in Notion, but I have a weird relationship with Notion where I use it and I love it, and then I completely forget that I have it. So I switched over to tracking my books in Goodreads because someone did recommend it to me. But my biggest gripe with Goodreads, other than who owns it, is that it would change the way I perceived a book I was interested in before I even read it. So usually I would see a book somewhere or someone would recommend a book and I would go into Goodreads and I would add it to my TBR list and then I would see the ratings and then I would read the reviews and then all of a sudden I wouldn't be excited to read it anymore. I don't really want to go through that anymore. I want to just read what I'm interested in reading, whether it is considered good or bad by other people. And I mostly just want to return to that experience of being a kid, going to the library, walking through the shelves, and picking up books, judging them by their cover, because let's be honest, that's how we really read. And just deciding for myself if I like a book or not before someone else's opinion alters mine. So, those are all my 2026 reading goals. I'm very excited to change it up a little bit this year, get out of that habit of just reading as many books as possible, and really picking books that I want to read and I am curious about, and challenging myself a little bit. So, that is all for me today. Thank you for listening and thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye.